Good morning. Our meeting will begin in approximately 1 minute. Please ensure that your microphones are on mute unless you are actively speaking. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Commission's administrative meeting for June the 9th, 2021. The Commission is trying a number of technical setups today with Commissioners Richard and O'Donnell in a room adjacent to the Commission's hearing room. Commissioner Herman is having technical difficulties today and she will not be on camera, but she is participating in the meeting. And we have Commissioner Linton in the Catonsville Regional Office. We do have meeting minutes to approve from last week, our administrative meeting of June 2nd, 2021. That vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The meeting minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 items on today's consent agenda. Item number 1 is an application from JMI Consultants, Inc. For a license to supply natural gas in Maryland. Items number 2 and 3 are from RPA Energy, Inc., DBA Green Choice Energy, for consisting of notice of added trade names for their electricity and gas services.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions on any of these 3 consent agenda items? Seeing none, with respect to item number 1, I move that we grant the company a license to operate as a natural gas supplier in Maryland, limited to broker and aggregator services for the customer classes and service territories applied for and recommended by staff. That we direct the company to provide training materials specific to its Maryland operations to Commission staff and the Office of People's Counsel 30 days prior to utilization. And we direct the company to file notice with the Commission within 30 days of any changes to the information in its application. With respect to items number 2 and 3, I move that we note the trade name. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motions are approved. Mr. Secretary, the administrative agenda, please.
Mr. Chairman, item number 4 in today's administrative agenda consists of proposed revisions from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company to the comprehensive balancing service price and self-balancing service price for daily metered gas customers. On this item for staff, we have Afton Hauer and Annette Garofalo, and for the company, Beverly Sikora and Lynn Fiery.
Good morning, Ms. Hauer. Ms. Hauer, before we start, are you also going to present for item number 11 this morning? Washington Gas?
Yes.
Okay. We'll pull item 11 and bring it right after item 4 this morning, if Mr. Dodge is with us as well. So, Ms. Hauer, let's proceed with item number 4 first. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Afton Hauer on behalf of staff. By letter dated March 30th, 2021, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed revised tariff rates for comprehensive balancing and self-balancing service for daily metered customers under the company's gas service tariff. As a result of its review, staff found errors in the calculations of BGE's proposed fee for the comprehensive balancing service price for daily metered customers. On June 1st, 2021, BGE filed an errata filing to revise its proposed fee for the comprehensive balancing service price for daily metered customers. This revision results in an increase in the comprehensive balancing service price from $0.0005 per therm to $0.0006 per therm. This increase was driven by a 5% increase in costs and a 10% decrease in the amount of therms used to calculate the charge. The proposed self-balancing rates also reflect an increase from last year's rates. The company states that there are 400 comprehensive balancing customers, 270 in Schedule C, 43 in Schedule ISS, and 2 in Schedule EG, and it currently does not have any self-balancing customers. The increase in the comprehensive balancing service fee results in an average monthly bill increase of $10.92 for Schedule C daily metered customers, $7.50 for Schedule ISS customers, $91.02 for Schedule IS customers, and $394.41 for Schedule EG customers. As required by Order Number 72269, the BGE analysis includes a statement concerning the level of competition for balancing services. BGE does not contend that a competitive market for balancing services has developed and these rates continue to be cost-based. Staff has reviewed the development of the proposed balancing charges and believes they are accurate. Staff recommends the Commission accept the company's proposed tariff in its errata filing with an effective date of June 9th, 2021, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. We'll turn to the company, Baltimore Gas and Electric.
Good morning, Chairman Stanek and Commissioners. Beverly Sukra on behalf of BGE. And as indicated, I also have Lynn Fiery with me this morning. First, I'd like to thank staff for its thorough review of this filing. It's a pretty complex set of calculations, and staff did find a couple issues with our cell references and things, so we really do appreciate that. However, we do take issue with staff's recommendation that the Commission accept the filing with an effective date of June 9th, 2021. BGE, as Ms. Hauer indicated, submitted the filing back on March 30th with an effective date of June 1st. In May, staff asked if BGE would mind that the filing be delayed so that they could have additional time for review. When they made this request, staff never indicated that the effective date would need to change. We agreed to the requested delay because these charges are for a relatively, as Ms. Hauer indicated, small number of customers, and we actually don't bill for June service until July. It's all on a calendar month. Again, though, we have an issue with the June 9th effective date. First, BGE's billing system would need to be modified to accommodate two different sets of balancing charges during the month. And, customers have not historically seen two different sets of balancing charges in 1 month, so it could lead to confusion. The staff had indicated to us that they have, they can't allow or they can't recommend approval of something that's effective before the Commission considers it. However, there have been quite a few examples of, where that has happened. With BGE's rate cases, we do get the revenue requirement with an effective date, and we then go through a series of calculations which we submit to the Commission for approval. And those are always effective before the Commission's admin meeting. And then also there was a recent example with a BGE electric vehicle demand credit tariff. Similar situation here. We had proposed a effective date, mid-November of 2020. Staff asked for extra time. We had no problem with that. But again, staff asked that the effective date be delayed. However, the Commission ultimately agreed with the company that the original effective date, or the effective date at least before the Commission's admin meeting, could be approved. So, again, this not only, we don't understand the precedent that staff seems to think it needs to follow, but also it would cause problems because of, having to have two rates in the billing system when that has not typically, been something we've done.
Howard, do you or your counsel object? Ms. Garofalo.
Yes, well, BGE has correctly stated our position. We are recommending this date because we feel that to recommend an earlier date would be retroactive rate making. But that would be, BGE was very good at explaining many of the issues that we found quite complicated here. That has hold this up for this extra, I guess, 9 days. But that is the reason that we recommend that it be effective today and not on the 1st as originally proposed.
Thank you, Ms. Garofalo. I didn't quite understand your position though. So you are objecting to Ms. Sikора's request based on retroactive rate making violation?
That's correct.
And Ms. Sikora, you cited a number of instances where the commission did approve rates in advance. Is there any distinction between those cases and the case before us today?
Not that I can think of at the moment, no.
And I'll return to Ms. Garofalo. We have, at least in my experience over the past 3 years, allowed certain rates, effective rates and tariff sheets to go into effect at a date earlier than the commission's vote.
Certainly, 3 things, I guess. Certainly earlier would be, we would not have a problem with that. But and in addition, if it is the commission's decision that it should go into effect on the 1st, except for the legal issue that I've mentioned, staff has no objection. We don't object to the tariff in any way.
Okay, while I am very respectful of legal doctrines, especially the rule against retroactive rate making, I do see that the utility worked with the staff in good faith, and we missed this by about 8 days as staff did its due diligence and corrected the errors. I am persuaded that good cause exists to allow an effective date of June 1st, and that will be the motion that I propose to make to my fellow colleagues. I do not have any questions. This was a complicated item. First one I believe I've seen on this bench. So my thanks for the cooperation between staff and the utility. The commissioners have questions. Mr. O'Donnell.
Couple. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, for Ms. Hauer, the bill impacts that you stated for the various customer classes, were they in terms of monthly bill impacts? Just for clarification, were they monthly?
Sorry, yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Ms. Sikora, just a couple quick questions for you. Do you agree with the staff's recalculation? They said they discovered some errors in your calculations on your submittal. Do you agree with their recalculated numbers?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And what would the cost be to change the billing system if we were to go with a June 9th effective date? Would it be de minimis? Would it be hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars? What are we talking about here?
You know, I don't know. We haven't really looked into it. I should never talk about guessing on an IT cost because I'd usually be wrong. I think our bigger concern, because I don't suspect it would be a large charge. I think the concern would more be the time it would take to get it implemented. It could cause a delay in getting customer bills out, which, you know, we really strive not to do. We want to bill our customers on a timely basis. So, you know, I think that's, well, again, I shouldn't talk about the cost for these types of things. I think from, you know, our perspective, a bigger concern is the time it would take to get a change made for this 1 month thing. It's not even that it's, you know, something that would be, you know, yes, it could potentially help us in the future, but, you know, our goal is always to charge this on a monthly basis. So we could be holding up bills for a while to make this one-time change.
Okay, thank you for that. I can appreciate that, and my gut tells me that we have um, retroactively made effective tariff changes that changed rate impacts and on more than a few occasions since I've been here. And I think the juice probably isn't worth the squeeze to go with a June 9th date. Although I do want to commend staff for the thorough review of this and finding the miscalculations that were in the original submittal. So to the extent that the chairman has stated his position, I tend to agree with him on that. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Seeing no other commissioners wishing to question the parties, I would move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2021. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman,
Aye.
Commissioner Linton,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Aye.
and Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Mr. Secretary, if you could call item number 11.
Mr. Chairman, item number 11 consists of revised strategic infrastructure development and enhancement current factor surcharges from Washington Gas Light Company. On this item for staff, we have Afton Hauer, Felix Patterson, and Michael Dean, and for the company, John Dodge and Andrew Lawson.
Thank you. Back to you, Ms. Hauer.
Good morning again, Chairman and Commissioners. Afton Hauer on behalf of staff. By letter dated May 11, 2021, Washington Gas Light Company filed its revised Strategic Infrastructure Development and Enhancement, or STRIDE, current factor surcharge to reflect the movement of certain STRIDE costs out of the STRIDE surcharge and into base rates as of March 26, 2021, consistent with the Commission's decision in case number 9651. As a result of the review, staff discovered that WGL inadvertently used an outdated PSC factor in the calculation of the conversion factor in its exhibit. Staff also found an error in the company's filing in the calculation of the company's current surcharge caps. WGL agreed to staff's findings and furnished the revised calculations to staff, which are included in attachment A of staff's comments. Staff has reviewed the revenue requirement calculations in WGL's revised calendar year 2021 STRIDE factors filing and believes the calculations are accurate. Staff has reviewed the company's calculations of its proposed 2021 STRIDE monthly surcharges and surcharge caps in its revised exhibit and believes they are consistent with the Commission's decision in case number 9651, Commission Order number 89799. The proposed monthly surcharges are below the calculated surcharge cap. Thus, the STRIDE surcharges will be set to the net surcharges without the cap effective July 1st, 2021 through December 2021. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the company's proposed STRIDE surcharge filing as revised by staff to be effective July 1st, 2021. I'm available for questions as well as Mr. Patterson from the Accounting Investigations Division.
Thank you, Ms. Hauer and Mr. Patterson. Counsel for Washington Gas.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. John Dodge appearing on behalf of Washington Gas. I am joined by Andrew Lawson from our Rates and Regulatory Affairs Department, and we have nothing to add except our thanks to Ms. Hauer and Mr. Patterson for working through another bunch of sophisticated and difficult calculations. So we're ready for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have questions on this STRIDE filing? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Hauer, again, I commend you for catching errors in the filings as indication of a very thorough review by the technical staff of the Public Service Commission. It's greatly appreciated. Did your recalculations move the calculated surcharge closer to the cap or further away from the cap? Did it go up or down?
I believe actually Mr. Patterson caught the PSC factor, which moved the interruptible class farther away from the cap. It actually decreased the surcharge.
So that would have represented, if the error hadn't been caught by the technical staff, Accounting Investigations Division, would have resulted, at least arguably, in an overcollection?
Commissioner O'Donnell,
This is Andrew Lawson. I can answer that if you want.
Okay,
It was a minor revenue requirement impact, or roughly around $2,000 for that change. So in theory, it could have generated a small overcollection, not that would register. That change really only affected the proposed factor for the interruptible customers, which took the current factor from $23.85 a month to $23.84. So it was minor, but again, commend staff for catching it.
yeah, it would concern me that any error would be considered minor. I understand what you're saying from a commonsensical standpoint, but I certainly don't want to think minor errors are acceptable, and especially when they don't inure to the benefit of the ratepayers. So I'm surprised that you said that a little bit, but thank you for that. At least I understand where this is. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no additional questions, I would move that we accept Washington Gas Light's proposed stride surcharge filing as revised by staff in its comments dated June 2nd, 2001, to be effective July 1st, 2021. I think I said staff's comments were filed in 2001. I meant 2021. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may note for the record that no other party filed comments on our revised surcharge, please.
Yes, so noted. I did not see any other filings in the case jacket.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, item number 5 on today's agenda is a request from Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, Inc. for authority to suspend the bill stabilization adjustment charge for the general service demand class. On this item for staff, we have Lucy Shea and Kenneth Albert, and for the cooperative, Mark McDougall, Eugene Bradford, and Tammy Filmer.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Shea.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Commissioners. Lucy Shea on behalf of staff. I'd also like to add that staff, Drew McAuliffe, is also here for any questions. On April 29, 2021, Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, SMECO, filed to request authorization to suspend the application of the Bill Stabilization Adjustment, BSA, to the General Service Demand, GSD, customer class. SMECO's request to suspend the GSD BSA stems from two factors. The increase, number one, the increase in the number of GSD customers, and number two, a decrease in the average usage of the GSD customers that is primarily associated with the different usage profile of the new GSD customers. SMECO requests a July 1, 2021 effective date, which will continue in force until such date that a final order becomes effective in SMECO's next base rate case. SMECO states that it has no plans to file a base rate case in 2021. The BSA is a mechanism that on a monthly basis adjusts any under or over recovery of base revenue based on SMECO's most recent base rate case, case number 9456, which became effective January 2018. The increase in the number of GSD customers, coupled with the lower average usage by GSD customers, has resulted in actual revenue from GSD customers consistently falling below the authorized base revenue amount that is determined by the BSA monthly calculation. The impact is that the cumulative deferred cost balance, also referred to as deferred revenue, which is a liability, is increasing at a rate of hundreds of thousands of dollars each month. SMECO has provided a bill impact estimate for the average GSD customer. The lowest amount the average GSD customer will save in a month is $24.09. Over the course of the year, the average monthly bill decrease is $27.77. In total, the suspension of the BSA would result in savings of approximately $333 over 1 year. In a summer month, the average bill of a standard offer service GSD customer is approximately $801.84. A $27.77 reduction in a customer's bill will result in a 3.5 decrease. SMECO is a cooperative, not-for-profit membership corporation. As such, the excess revenue received by SMECO due to the GSD BSA may be returned to SMECO's customers because annually, the SMECO board determines whether to refund to SMECO customers all or a portion of SMECO's retained earnings. If there is a refund, the refund is allocated to customers based on annual kilowatt usage. The advantage of suspending the GSD BSA to address the over-recovery via suspending the BSA is that this would ensure that the GSD customers will no longer be incurring excess costs under the BSA. Also, if the Commission authorizes SMECO to suspend the GSD BSA, the BSA revenue that SMECO would not receive from GSD customers would not be shifted to other customers. Staff recommends that the Commission authorize SMECO to suspend its monthly BSA charge for the GSD rate class effective July 1, 21. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And Staff Counsel Mr. Albert and Mr. McAuliffe is here to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shea. We'll turn to counsel for Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Mark McDougall on behalf of SMECO. I think staff's analysis was very good on this issue, and I thank Ms. Shea and Mr. McAuliffe for putting them together. We have no additions or modifications to either our application or staff's comments. And so Mr. Bradford, Ms. Fellner, and I are available for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have questions? Commissioner Lind.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. McDougall. I just wanted to ask a couple of clarification questions. You've requested and staff has recommended that we suspend the BSA for the GSD tariff class until the company files its next rate case. But in your filing, you've noted that there's been an increase in the number of members or number of customers in the GSD class. Do you know what that's attributed to? I mean, I know there's new customers, but what's the, do you have any thoughts on what's driving that number?
There are a couple of things, Commissioner Linton. One is that we have eliminated our general service non-demand rate schedule to new customers. So when we get customers moving into our general service class, they move into the GSD class. The other is that there have been a number of customers that use, gosh, I guess it would be attachments to towers for cell service and other sorts of service that have entered the GSD class. And because I think those companies are trying to enhance their the quality of their business, we're seeing a lot more of that over the last few years than we've seen in prior years.
Okay, so thank you for that. Is this I guess my last question then is, do you anticipate that this number will continue to grow at the same pace, or is it something that is capped out now, or where are we?
Well, Commissioner Linton, with the proposed change that we have before you today, the growth in the deferred balance will be drastically slowed. It will probably continue to increase, but at a much less drastic rate. which is what we're trying to achieve here.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. McDougall. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all the questions I have.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, I'd move that we authorize the cooperative to suspend its monthly bill stabilization adjustment charge for the general services demand rate class effective July 1st, 2021. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
Aye, the motion is approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, item number 6 on today's meeting consists of revised purchase of receivable discount rates from Delmarva Power and Light Company. On this item for staff, we have David Hoppick and Annette Garofalo, and for the company, Matt Seegers, Dana Katarzyna, and Susan DeVito.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Hoppick. Mr. Hoppick, aye. So it sounds like you're either Mickey or Minnie Mouse. For some reason, your voice is on a very fast track. It's like a loop. Oh, now we can't hear you at all. And Mr. Hoppick, we have a, yes, perhaps you could call in. Mr. Secretary, can you email Mr. Hoppick the call-in number?
Will do.
Thank you. Just take a 3-minute recess. We'll be back on at 10:33.
Okay, I just emailed it to you, Dave.
Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you ready for me to continue, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Hoppick, yes. Let's proceed. You sound much better. Thank you.
All right. I apologize for the technical difficulties. So I think I should stop my video and disconnect so there's not the feedback, because I think that's coming from my microphone.
Right. There's a little bit of an echo, so perhaps if we turn off your video and just use the phone, that would be probably best. Thank you.
Okay. I think that resolved it. Oh, maybe not. I apologize for the technical issues. All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. David Hoppick on behalf of staff. Please note that staff filed corrected comments on Monday. These corrections are to tables 2 and 3 in staff's comments, are shown in track changes, are minor, and do not change staff's analysis or recommendation. By letter order dated October 5th, 2009, the Commission gave the Delmarva Power and Light Company broad guidance for establishing purchase of receivables discount rates. Delmarva has filed revised PUR rates effective July 1st, 2021. So obviously the echo is continuing. Should I disconnect from WebEx and just use my telephone?
That might be advisable, Mr. Hoppick, and then you could jump back on the meeting later if you need to.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Are we still, can you all still hear me?
Yes, we could hear you loud and clear.
Okay, do you need me to repeat what I already said, or can I just continue on?
No, we heard it fine. You might have heard the echo much worse than we did.
Okay, yeah, it was pretty bad on my end. I apologize. The proposed residential POR rate is 3.6769%, increasing from the current 2.1428% rate. The proposed commercial classes POR rates remain unchanged at 0%. Delmarva is proposing to defer half the planned amortization of 2018 and 2019 residential uncollected costs to next year's filing. Absent this deferral, the residential POR rate would increase to approximately 4.9%. Staff supports Delmarva's proposed deferral of the amortization of 2018 and 2019 residential uncollected costs. Although the proposed increase in the residential POR rate is significant, staff believes the proposed rate balances retail suppliers' ability to respond to changes in POR rates with Delmarva's need to recover POR costs. Staff recommends that Delmarva's revised POR rates be accepted for filing effective July 1st, 2021. I am available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppick. I believe the Retail Energy Supply Association also filed comments in this proceeding. Do we have counsel with RESA with us this morning?
So, Mr. Chairman, as part of their letter, they noted that they were not available to participate in today's meeting.
Thank you. I missed that, Mr. Hoppick. We'll then turn to counsel for Delmarva.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Matthew Seegers appearing for Delmarva Power. As indicated, also appearing with me is Ms. Kasha Dana and Susan DeVito. We appreciate staff's analysis and we have nothing to add, but we are available if there are any questions.
Thank you. I recognize that this has been an interesting time during COVID and it's affected everything down to our POR rates. I also appreciate that both staff and the utility worked with RESA to reach a best case situation here. I do not have any questions. Do my colleagues? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hoppick, for the benefit of myself and Commissioner Richard and maybe others who are viewing or watching, would you mind taking a shot at subject to check summarizing RESA's filing, what their position was? I know it's unusual for me to ask to do that, but we haven't reviewed their comments. I don't know why we haven't seen them, but neither of us have seen them.
Okay, yes. So their letter states that they did engage in conversations with both Delmarva staff and the Office of People's Counsel. And additionally, they did review the scenario analysis that we presented as part of our comments. And their statement is that they do not object to the proposed discount rate of 3.6769% for the residential class. And then they further note that there are concerned that the Delmarva rate is consistently higher than other rates.
Okay, thank you for that. As we get back to normal, a few pieces of filings maybe dropped through the cracks here or there, and I apologize. It's probably on my part. So that's, I appreciate at least knowing, and if RESA wants to come back later and correct any characterization of their comments, that would be fine by me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional comments? Seeing none, I would move that we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of July 1st, 2021. Vote begins with Commissioner Herman,
Aye.
Commissioner Linton,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Aye.
and Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, item number 7 on today's agenda is a request from Hanover Pike Solar LLC for a waiver of the operational deadline to begin commercial operations under COMAR 26-2. On this item for staff, we have Annette Garofalo, and for the company, Maggie Withrup, Carrie Neary, and Stephanie Sinkowski.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Annette Garofalo on behalf of staff. Apologies, my camera also, like Commissioner Herman's, is not working this morning. It says it's somewhere else filming me. So, but the other thing I would ask is, would it be possible to take the next, all 4 of these items together? Staff's rationale is the same, and we could certainly deal with any issues that come up from the applicants.
Thank you. I recognize that all 4 are owned by the same parent company, Summit Ridge Energy. Does counsel for Summit Ridge and these 4 individual projects object to staff providing a global characterization?
This is Maggie Withrup, the applicants in all 4 cases. We have no objection to taking them all together. The facts are slightly different for each project, but I think we can adequately summarize those differences.
Thank you, counsel.
Thank
Of course,
thank you.
you'll have opportunity to have any discussion of case-specific items for the 4. All right,
Yes.
Let's proceed, Ms. Garofalo.
So these 4 items are requests of community solar developers for waivers of the operational deadlines in COMAR 20-620304. This portion of COMAR, as of June 15th, 2020, provides that applicants have a total of 36 months to begin operation after acceptance of an application, at the end of which period the applicable utility must remove the project from its pilot program queue. The time allotted consists of an initial 24-month construction period, which may be extended for an additional 12 months by providing a deposit of $50 per kilowatt to the utility, except there are certain exceptions to this provision. Prior to June 15th, 2020, COMAR 20-620304 provided a period of 18 months in total, specifically 12 months followed by 6 months with a deposit. The applications for all 4 of these generating stations were initiated under the original 18-month operating deadline of the community solar pilot and had operating deadlines that kept them in the program queue at the time COMAR 20-620304 was amended. The effect of this is that all 4 community solar generating stations will have had the opportunity for an 18-month extension beyond their original operating deadline without any commission action. It's staff's position that because the 36 months is approximately 42% of the length of the entire extended pilot, and special rules apply to both pending legal challenges and situations where a utility precludes a solar facility from beginning to operate, only the most exigent circumstances should qualify as good cause for the granting of a waiver of COMAR 20-620304. It is staff's further position that the reasons provided by the applicants, permitting difficulties and difficulties in acquiring equipment, even when said to be the result of COVID, do not rise to this level. Accordingly, staff recommends that all 4 waiver requests be denied. In the event that these projects are removed from the queue by each utility after expiration of the current deadline, of course, staff has no objection to the applicants reapplying to the program, either in a subsequent year or in another category that has available capacity.
Thank you, Ms. Garofalo. Ms. Withrup, your response. Ms. Withrup, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Maggie Witherup from Gordon Feinblatt on behalf of the applicants Hanover Pike Solar LLC, Crossroad Trail Solar LLC, TPE MD MO 33 LLC, and TPE MD MO 32 LLC. With me are Ms. Carrie Neary, who is the Chief Development Officer for Summit Ridge Energy, which is the parent company for all 4 applicants. And also on the telephone is Stephanie Sinkowski, who is the Development Manager for the projects. Each of these projects requests an extension of the operational deadlines, ranging from, I believe, 2 months to 5 months. And we believe that we have established good cause for each of these projects, as detailed in our request for extension letters. I'm not going to go through all of the information in letters, but just highlight some of the exigent circumstances that justify granting the extensions in this case. If you look at the first item, number 7 on the agenda, which is Hanover Pike Solar, this project started, was accepted into the program in January 2019. They immediately applied for and got a special exception from the county. And then proceeded with their environmental diligence and reviews, including wetland delineation, phase 1 environmental site assessment, geotechnical evaluations, surveys for stand delineations, and got those approvals in December 2019. They next received their County Development Review Committee Exemption A approval in January of 2020, but that approval was appealed, which required the project to go through another Development Review Committee approval for a second exemption, which caused a 3-month delay in the project schedule. And then at that time, Baltimore County undertook a broader rezoning process, which would have rezoned the project site and would have potentially nullified the previously issued special exemptions. And this rezoning process lasted 9 months, during which time the county refused to process any further permits until that process was complete. So there's nothing the applicant could do to move the project forward during those 9 months. The county rezoning process was finally completed in September of 2020. And then the project was able to move forward, getting additional approvals. And they have moved forward with getting those approvals. They are now working on, they still don't have final plan approvals for the project, but now they are facing equipment delays. So even if those approvals are issued tomorrow, there is no way that they can complete the project and start construction in time to meet the operational deadline, which is, first of all, you have the county level process being slow because of COVID. This commission has been able to function relatively well during COVID, but the local jurisdictions are not having the same ease of being able to process things. You have employees who are working from home. It's hard to get them submissions for them to look at, and then you have delays in approvals. So it's taking longer than expected to get these final approvals due to no fault of the applicant. And then on top of that, we're having problems with the availability of supplies due to the global COVID pandemic. And this is, not just the supplies themselves, but there's a shortage of containers to ship them. There are delays at ports of entry to the United States. There's a shortage of skilled labor and a backup of construction demand. So it's hard getting labor to do the projects. And things are taking double and sometimes triple delivery times from before the pandemic. And I will add that since the submission of not only the Hanover Pike application, but for all 4 of these applications, the project developer has gone ahead and ordered equipment at risk to themselves without waiting for financing. They've gone off balance sheet for financing to order the equipment, but they're being told that they cannot get the equipment on site until November at the earliest. And some suppliers are not even guaranteeing delivery by any date at all. So there is really literally nothing else the applicant can do to move these projects forward. And these are good projects. They have been thoughtfully designed to avoid adverse impacts to the environment, to work with the county to address every issue that the counties have raised. And I also would point out that the parent company, Summit Ridge Energy, has a good track record of developing successful solar projects in the program. I believe that this establishes good cause for each of these extension requests. They are not long and are necessary to be able to do these projects. I do want to comment briefly on the staff recommendation sheets for each of these projects, which literally contain zero analysis of the applicant's good cause demonstration in each of these application requests. Their argument is simply that because the regulations were extended last year to extend the deadlines across the board for all community solar projects, that should be enough time. And with all due respect to staff, and as this commission is well aware, many community solar projects were having trouble meeting the operational deadlines even before the pandemic. And so the change in the regulations was in the works before the pandemic and had nothing to do with the pandemic. I believe no one could have anticipated the amount and the magnitude of delays that have been caused by this global pandemic. And I think the fact-specific analysis in each of our applications shows good cause. I also want to point out that staff and the commission have previously recognized that the unprecedented nature of the current pandemic has resulted in delays that were not foreseen by any applicant in the program at the time they began planning for the construction of these community solar stations. And also that Governor Hogan's March 12, 2020 executive order allows suspension of deadlines as long as the suspension is not endangering the public. The problems caused by the pandemic have not magically gone away now that things are starting to open up and people are getting vaccinated and there's a feeling of optimism and hope. There are still worldwide delays in manufacturing supplies and shipping that are beyond the applicant's control. One other example I want to point out with respect to the other projects, the Crossroad Trail Solar Project did get its discretionary approvals. Since the time we submitted our request, they have received their tree conservation plan 2 approval, which we anticipated getting in April. They have not yet received a final site development plan approval, which we had anticipated getting in April of 2021. The reason that we have not yet received that is because that requires the recording of a conservation easement for the property before the county will issue the final site development plan approval. And we are calling every other day and cannot prod the county to move any faster to record this easement. It's just incredibly slow. This one is Prince George's County, but like many other counties, they're moving extremely slow still because of the pandemic and backlogs and people working from home. But again, even if they got that approval tomorrow, the delays in equipment supplies are going to prevent this project from being able to meet the operational deadlines. The last 2 projects for MO32 and MO33, they have all of their discretionary approvals. Again, the project has gone ahead and ordered equipment, but because of the supply delays, supply chain disruptions due to the pandemic, there is no way that they can meet the operational deadlines. They're being told that the lead time for transformers is now 26 weeks. Racking systems used to take 10 weeks to get, 8 to 10 weeks. They're now estimating 26 weeks. There is literally nothing else they can do to expedite these projects, which I submit is the very definition of good cause. I think that We have, the applicant has demonstrated good cause. They just need a few more months to get these projects across the finish line. And it would be, I think, an injustice not to give them these extensions. We are available for any questions that the commissioners may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Witherup, Ms. Garofalo. So, Ms. Witherup, you raised a number of valid concerns, I think, with respect to COVID delays, the frustration with the counties. I know these projects are in various counties. You also recognize the deadlines that are the revised deadlines that were set forth in the new COMAR regulations that we promulgated back in 2020, I believe. Can you provide us any assurance that these projects would meet their operational deadlines if we granted these various extensions ranging from, it looks like 2.5 months for the project in item number 10 to about 5 months for the project in item number 7, which is the Hanover Pike Solar Project? Or is there a potential that if we grant these waivers, your client will yet again be requesting an additional extension because the shipments didn't arrive or because the county's permitting offices failed to get you the permits in time?
Could I take this one?
Sure. Let Ms. Neary address this one.
I just might be closer with it. Council Chairman, thank you for having us. Carrie Neary, Chief Development Officer with Summit Ridge Energy. I understand your concern, and one thing that I do want to point out that I'm not sure is entirely clear is every discretionary approval for all 4 of these projects has been obtained. Final building permits are being underway now. Final detailed site plan is underway, but all of the discretion is taken care of. So the risk that we get through permitting is very low. It is truly the timing to get through. We have committed almost $5 million to date for each of these projects. Essentially, we have issued full notice to proceed to our construction contractors to place the equipment orders, and we are working very, very closely with them. I understand the concern that we would need an additional delay. Right now in the pandemic, I don't think there's anything that's guaranteed, right? And our suppliers certainly are not guaranteeing delivery based on the delays that we are talking about. However, we are working really closely with them. We have gone off balance sheet, which is unprecedented, to be placing these orders already and be committing the amount of money that we have done already. But when we heard of the extended lead times, we knew that we needed to. Summit Ridge Energy currently has 10 operating projects in Maryland. And so we believed coming into this process that we very much knew what to expect and that we would meet these deadlines. Our experience gave us every reason to believe that 30 months would be sufficient. And we kept going despite the delays in the county processing, despite the moratorium for 9 months that were proposed on Hanover Pike. We kept going, and we believe in these projects. They're good projects. It's hard to guarantee anything to your original question, Mr. Chairman, but I do think that the few months that we've requested are sufficient to get these projects just across the finish line. We've pushed as hard as we possibly can to accelerate everything, and we just really did not anticipate these delays. We have numerous suppliers that have provided letters that I could share with you, basically confirming that even our suppliers would have never anticipated this a few months ago even. I know personally I can't even get a refrigerator for my house. So I think we all know what this feels like. But I would just like to say we are doing everything we can. We do think that the deadlines that we've requested are achievable based on the close relationships that we have with our suppliers. I just, I don't think I mean, honestly, the pandemic throws us through a loop. So I don't know that I could use the word guarantee, but I'm very confident that this would get all 4 of these across the finish line.
Obviously, there are supply chain issues. What is the response from the counties when you or your council contact the permitting office in order to check the status of your permits? What are the responses you're getting?
So they, right now, we're doing everything we can to accelerate the permit process. So I know that we gave the example of the final site development plan approval for Crossroad Trail. That's all been approved technically. It's just that the permit can't actually be issued. So we're working as closely as we can with the county to get everything ready to be issued. The minute that easement is recorded, they're ready to go. So we are working really closely. They will admit when they're at home, it is difficult to process things. They can't always review things on their computers. Many counties, in particular Baltimore, actually all 4 counties, rely heavily on in-person drop-off and pickup for permits, which clearly is slowed tremendously because people are not there for weeks at a time. In Baltimore County, the entire development plan office was shut down for, it was probably 4 to 6 weeks due to COVID, and wasn't processing anything after the moratorium. So that was a problem. An example would be Crossroad Trail, the tree conservation plan that we talked about typically would take maybe 5 months for approval. And we have a good relationship with the county and have been working with them. It took 10 months just based on the delays in the county being able to review things at home. So I would not say that they are, we still have a good relationship with them. They are processing things as they can, but they're very honest with us when they cannot work at home or they cannot pick up a document, which, they'll say, we'll get to it in 2 weeks when I'm in the office, that kind of thing. So it's just really slowed everything down. And the recording in particular is taking, 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks to get anything recorded.
One more question, and perhaps this is for Ms. Witherup. Staff, with respect to the Hanover project and the Crossroad Trail project, appears to be unclear whether or not the companies have paid their respective deposits to the utility companies, the $50 per megawatt deposit. Have these deposits been made? And if not, why not?
I'm sorry, they have been made for all projects, with the exception of MO32 project, because that's an LMI, so it wasn't required. But outside of that, all 3 projects did make their deposits on time.
Very good, thank you. Do commissioners have questions of the parties?
I have a question for staff. Ms. Garofalo, we seem to be coming close to the finish line on these, and we have had a pandemic which has slowed so many parts of all federal, state, and local governments. Can you explain to me a little bit more why the staff is taking a hard line on these now?
These particular projects still have many months to go before they meet their 36-month deadline. And they say they need this extension now because they want some finality on their financing plans. I just don't think that's the commission's issue, nor should it be staff's. In addition, while this is not the reason for our recommendation, the reason for our recommendation is that they have received a 17-month extension, and this is something that they have received that, and I think we were trying to save the commission from going out and on a limb because we think that this means that any project which is out there and unfinished, and that's most projects that have been approved, will come in with the same rationale. So I disagree that we didn't offer any analysis. I think we did. We just don't think that what has been offered is sufficient. Nothing was no evidentiary papers were filed with this. And we've now heard that the very things that they were talking about, the permitting, has actually been taken care of now, as opposed to some months hence. So I guess that's the reason. We recognize the pandemic is a problem, but we think that these things don't take long to be built, and we think that we recommend that you consider denying these particular requests.
So what, I know this is a hypothetical, but are you saying that by asking now, that's problematic because they still have, certain, 6, 8 months until some of these projects are out of time? Is it staff's position that if they continue to run into these issues, that instead of granting the waiver now, that staff would prefer to do it when they're closer to their deadline? Is that a position you're taking?
Well, we didn't take that position in our comments. I think I certainly took that position in my head, but I did not float that to other members of staff. I would point out that the applicants said in their filings that they are asking for these now because they want to have assurance that that they will get financing for these projects.
Okay, and to summarize what I think I heard you say, which I wasn't sure was specified in the comments, was that your concern is that by granting a waiver too soon, that we're going to get a ton of these coming in because everybody's going to be looking to get a time cushion on their projects. Did I get that right?
I did say that. I didn't say that in my comments because I wanted my comments to be directed to these 4 applications.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a question for Summit Ridge Energy, and then I got a question for staff, and I might come back to Summit Ridge Energy. So you have these 4 projects that are before us today. What other projects, if any, do you have in the queue under the Community Solar Program in Maryland?
Yes. So we, in the queue, we have 14 additional projects that have been awarded capacity that are under development, and 43 projects that are in early stage and have not yet been awarded capacity. Particularly in the Baltimore Gas and Electric programmatic queue, it takes almost a year from initial application to get your conditional approval to apply. So it just takes a lot longer to be able to start that process. And yeah, I can stop there. Is there any way I could clarify perhaps some of the staff comments or?
Hang on. Let me ask my questions and then we'll get back to.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
So of these 50-some projects that are in some level of development with your company, how many of them may we expect to see back before us requesting delays because you got financing concerns, you gobbled up the capacity in this program, this pilot, and now you're just going to expect us to rubber stamp the exemptions on the deadlines?
Yeah, we absolutely do not expect a rubber stamp. As I mentioned, we do have 10 operating projects in Maryland right now, and all of which were constructed and operating prior to a 36-month deadline. So our experience to date in Maryland has demonstrated that we can develop and we should be able to develop within 36 months. That is the precedent. What we're seeing with these projects in the pandemic is unprecedented. It is so far from our experience.
Right.
To
I got the pandemic thing. We all operate under it. I got that. I heard you.
Right.
Thank you.
So I would not expect the projects coming down the line, assuming, based on where the world is going right now. And I think we're getting our feet back on track that they would need extensions beyond the 36 months, assuming that the world is moving forward.
So
It's really,
to get back to the chairman's question, then, can you give this commission assurance that you're not going to be in here with a string of deadline extensions on your other projects?
I do believe that. I do believe that we will not be coming in with a string of deadlines. Again, we have 10 operating projects that we've gotten done in 36 months, maybe more than other developers in the state. We now understand, and our suppliers understand, what it's taking to get equipment on site and the timelines that you need to order, which we did not know until we placed orders and they said it's now this long. So we are working more closely with them. And I do think, assuming that the world is going back in the right direction, that 36 months is sufficient for us to get our other projects. Some may fall out, they're early stage development, so we don't know, but the ones that do move forward, that 36 months should and has been sufficient to get them across the finish line under normal times.
Okay, thank you. I may come back to Ms. Witherup or yourself. Ms. Garofalo, I have a question for staff. So of all the community solar projects out there, beyond these 4 cases, how many requests for extensions, time limited waiver of the operational deadlines or other deadlines are before the technical staff of the Maryland Public Service Commission? Because as you know, and I know, we've gone through years and years of every excuse in the book, from the frozen tundra of Maryland and the harsh Maryland weather eating up time, to almost the dog ate my homework kind of, we need more time excuses. How many more are before the technical staff requesting a waiver of operational deadlines?
I believe I have 2 now. But I would take this opportunity to say that in preparing my comments, I looked at how many projects did various suppliers have, and as Miss Remy, I think is her name. I'm not sure of your name. Was said these people have 50 projects, and we don't have a lot of. This is again not a reason to say yay or nay on this project, but we do not have a lot of diversity in our community solar program. It's a pilot. We have to do a report very soon. And we are looking at that report and wondering what we're going to say.
Yeah, I think you and I might agree on that a lot of these developers, when they request these delays, don't understand the reporting requirements we have to the legislature with regard to the efficacy of these developments in the community solar program, the pilot. And we've already doubled the length of operation time required, and that was supposed to remedy it. And now we're getting more indication that that's not going to be good enough. And I suspect that we're going to hear the pandemic for years to come as the reason that everything has stopped. A good thing the Public Service Commission didn't use that excuse on our statutory deadline requirements. We'd be in big trouble. But you alluded to financing. Could you elucidate a little bit on that? Because I have a theory that a lot of these are related to finance, although everybody would rather say frozen tundra, permitting delays, and every other excuse in the world. But at the heart of it, underlying all of it, is actual financing concerns. Can you elucidate? No, I'm asking Ms. Garofalo. Hang on a second. Ms.
I'm
Garofalo,
sorry.
can you talk about your comments there?
Oh, I was only repeating what was placed in the application. The application said, at least two, and perhaps all four of them said, well, we're asking for this now rather than later because we want to have an assurance that we can, that our financing will go through.
Yeah, it seems to me in my mind that a lot of this is to give time for these developers to get the most favorable financing arrangements they can to their companies. And that underlies a lot of this, maybe all of it. I don't know for sure. It's very hard to parse through what's legitimate and what's actual boils down to financing concerns. So I'll give the company a chance to talk about that a little bit, please.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I did want to respond to that comment by Ms. Garofalo. We did put that in the request for the extensions that was a concern about getting financing to buy the equipment. But since the submission of these extension requests, the company has committed off balance sheet the orders for the construction equipment and has issued notices to proceed to the contractor, which is at its own risk. They're not waiting for financing for these projects. This, I think, demonstrates how much they believe in these projects, and to demonstrate to this commission, there is literally nothing else they can do to get these projects finished in time to meet the operational deadlines. So, that was a concern initially, but they didn't wait for financing. They've gone ahead and ordered the equipment and committed the contractors by issuing notices to proceed.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just indicate kind of my position on this. I'm going to be voting with the staff's recommendation, although I suspect I'm going to be in the minority on this. And I just want to send them kind of a dissent message. And I'm not sure about this. I don't want to presume anybody else's vote, but I want to send a message that at least this commissioner doesn't expect to see a long line of operational deadline extensions parading before this commission, dressed up with any manner of excuse, notwithstanding there may be some sympathetic reasons given in these cases. But going forward into the CSEX program, because we have a pilot, we have a requirement for a pilot. We've already doubled the deadline on it. And so if the majority's will is to disagree with staff's recommendation and approve these extensions, I'll be voting no to register a dissent.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional questions before I call a motion? I do find that pursuant to COMAR Title 20, Subtitle 62, Chapter 1, Regulation 4, that good cause has been shown in light of the number of, I'll call them excuses, but I think they're valid excuses that have been tendered by counsel for Summit Ridge Energy. With that, I will make a motion to approve the time-limited extension requests as follows, and this will be a global motion. With respect to item number 7, I move that we approve the request for a time-limited waiver of the operational deadline to July 1st, 2022. With respect to item number 8, I move that we approve the request for a time-limited waiver of the operational deadline to May 1st, 2022. And with respect to items number 9 and 10, I move that we approve the request for a time-limited waiver of the operational deadline to April 15th, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
No.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. With no additional business on today's administrative meeting's agenda, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.